Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Collectively, we are the Office Blokes.
Yep.
It is
Correct.
a true thing. What do we know about the world's toughest prisons?
He spent some time there.
That was
Yeah.
Guantanamo, wasn't it, Mike?
Strange ways.
Strange ways. Right.
Doing bird.
Doing a bit of bird. Yeah.
Bit of
Toughest
porridge.
prisons, I'm guessing. Well, I'm not sure where they are actually. I don't want to
I can
start.
figure out.
Go on, guess.
No.
I'll have guesses.
I'm not going to.
I'll
no.
have guesses. El Salvador,
Honduras.
Honduras.
Yeah, maybe.
places in the Far East, Thailand, places like that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can imagine sort of like maybe like your Iraq, places like that. Maybe Iran. I don't know.
Did you ever watch Banged Up Abroad?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a good show, wasn't it? And it's like some...
All the same stories.
Yeah,
though.
the
We've seen
drug
one, we've seen
mule.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
an attractive girl at the bar said...
From
that-
Peru.
Yeah, hold this
I might.
package and go...
Yeah.
But then they ended up...
Brought me a new suitcase.
But they ended up in prisons that were grim, like some of the South American ones.
I
were
think
really-
the Central American ones are going to be the worst.
Yeah, that's what I
They-
meant.
yeah.
Central America,
Yeah.
not South America.
Although I do remember a Midnight Express as well. I don't know if you've seen that film, but
No.
have you not?
I haven't either.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
What's it about?
It's about a guy basically put in prison, but somewhere in like the Middle East sort of thing. It's a true story as well.
Right.
It's really, really good. It's grim.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, good film.
Let's find out about this then. The world's toughest prison. Let's go for it. Maybe.
Is there a fate worse than death? Is there a scenario where a criminal would gladly choose capital punishment over life imprisonment? Well, as surreal as it sounds, there are prisons in this world that make the death penalty a merciful sentence. Prisons riddled with unspeakable horror that would make your stomach turn.
Cozy.
In this video, I'm
Yeah.
going to show you 10 of the worst. So, take a deep breath because things are about to get very ugly. Number 10, Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. Ask any Russian you know, and they'll tell you that life in any Russian prison is incredibly tough. But this high-security Black Dolphin prison redefines that quality. Located on the Kazakhstan border, Black Dolphin is one of Russia's oldest prisons, and it got its name from the statue at the front of the building, which the prisoners built themselves. That's strange, because Black Dolphin is not really known for its freedom. In fact, the only way to escape this prison is by dying. That is the fate of every inmate, because only inmates with life sentences are sent to Black Dolphin. The prison houses about 700 inmates, who together have a murder count of about 3,500.
Wow.
Shared equally,
Wow.
that is at least 5 victims per inmate. But murder is not the worst skill on their resume. Black Dolphin also houses cannibals, assault perpetrators of the worst kind, maniacs, terrorists, and pedophiles. 2 inmates are forced to share brutally built 50-square-foot cells that are secured behind 3 sets of steel doors. And these cells are under 24-hour surveillance, and guards make their rounds every 15 minutes. The prisoners hardly ever leave their cells,
bent over at the waist and blindfolded so they can't.
but when they do, they're blindfolded and made to walk bent at the waist. This way, they never have a sense of their surroundings. There is no prison yard and no cafeteria, as inmates are forced to eat only meals of soup and bread in their dingy cells. If hell was a prison, then Black Dolphin would be a strong contender.
Wow.
Al de Ciudad.
Looks like real.
Some of the same people as well.
Wow.
It's anxiety inducing, that, isn't it? Just that tiny little box all the
Imagine like
time.
that for the rest of your life.
My life will last long if I had that.
Mine wouldn't
Be
be
over in
either.
a day.
I bet they take your shoelaces off you when you go in there, though.
Oh, they will do, yeah. But they're checking you every 15 minutes as well. I mean,
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to be rushing to resuscitate people that are not in a good way.
maybe not.
I think
maybe
they'll
not.
bad.
probably
They
have a
want you
look
to-
and go, nah. Well,
Yeah,
Depends how much they want you to serve the sentence, what you've done.
yeah, true.
I mean, that doesn't sound any fun, that does it?
That's raw.
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
grim, that is. And it's not even the worst one yet.
No, that's 10.
That's what's worrying.
Barrios, El Salvador. Now, what could be
Yeah, there we
worse
go.
than hell? I'm glad you asked. Allow me to introduce you to Al de Ciudad, the most dangerous prison in all of El Salvador. The reason it is so dangerous is because it houses 2 of the world's most notorious gangs, the MS-13 and the Barrio 18 gang.
Okay, this is the sector 2.
Is this one of those where the prisoners basically run
Death
it?
often comes
Possibly,
without
yeah.
warning if an inmate is not a gang member. And that's why from 2004 to 2015, only gang members were sent to this hellhole. But sometimes, being a gang member is not enough. And most of the time, they are the least of your concern because the living conditions are so bad and the prison is so overcrowded that getting simple things like food to eat or a place to lay your head could easily turn into a fight to the death with anyone contesting your claim. The prison's reputation for lawlessness and violence is so real that prison guards are terrified of entering the prison, and the result, the entire prison system is run by the gang members. Number 8, Petak Island Prison.
I've heard of that one before.
Yeah. You won't want to end up in one of these places, will you?
Not at all.
You've got to do something really bad to get the.
Yeah. I watched a Banged Up Abroad that was it was an English guy that was he's quite a big guy, but not big built. He was just kind of overweight and quite tall. And he got put in, it was, I want to say it was in Brazil or somewhere. It was a really, really bad one that was run essentially by the prisoners. And they had guns and everything.
Yeah.
And he was essentially used as, you hold on to the gun. And then he was sort of indoctrinated into the gangs and had to do bad things for him. But it turned out that he could play the guitar. And he managed to get hold of a guitar, and that saved him. Because he just used to play and sing for people, and then that was his prison experience, was just being a musician. But he was literally like, he's holding on to guns for people, and it's terrifying that these things are in there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in as well, because I've had picked my bag up from baggage reclaim when I've gone somewhere or come back from somewhere, and I've gone to the security and gone, my bag looks like it's been tampered with.
Yeah.
And they've gone, bring it over here, and they've gone through and they've gone, it's fine.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But like the zipper be busted one side and you'd be like, just small little things.
Yeah,
I ain't taking that
someone
risk.
been in there to put stuff in, and
Grim.
Prison, Russia. It is called the Alcatraz of Russia for a reason, and that reason would put the fear of Mother Russia into the heart of the devil.
Your island. The island of the damned.
Sitting in isolation on the vast Nozovero Lake, this tiny island prison houses 193 prisoners, all on life sentences. Unsurprisingly, the inmates are usually the worst of the worst.
They're looking for anything that could be used as a weapon or a means of escape.
And each of them are kept in a small two-man cell for 23 hours every day. Escape is impossible because inmates are not even allowed out of their cell for any reason, and the 1 hour they are allowed out of lockdown is spent standing in a cage that they can barely pace in. However, the cherry on this terrible reality, what makes this prison worse than Black Dolphin, is the lack of basic sanitation facilities. There are no proper toilets and no proper bathrooms. Inmates do their business in a steel bucket and they find sleep on thin beds. Some have likened the living conditions of Petak Island prison to that of a zoo in winter. And that is because the island is surrounded by freezing waters that contribute to the breaking the spirit of their inmates. Number 7, Kwang Prison, Bangkok, Thailand. Kwang Prison is one of the worst prisons on earth for a very specific reason. Many of its inmates were once tourists.
But there's 24 in the room, which is really hard, especially just to get to the toilet because everyone's all over them.
And because the prison facility is so overcrowded,
It's treble because of a government crackdown on drug trafficking.
these offending tourists have to cramp up in the same space with prisoners on death row, and the offenses that could boot you into Kwang are often very trivial. Reading the wrong book, staying in groups of 5, or even eating a sandwich in public could get you a one-way ticket to Kwang. Life in Kwang is beyond harsh for inmates. In the first 3 months of their sentence, new inmates are required to wear iron chains. To make matters worse, the food they're served is often infested with maggots, and drinking water is an absolute luxury. But it doesn't end there. Don't think you can just avoid Kwang by being a good citizen or tourist. A couple of years ago, a British man was thrown into jail when a Thai gang jumped him, and even though he lost an eye and suffered injuries, he still had to do time in Kwang for fighting back. Number 6, Gitarama Central.
It's scary, that.
Get put away for eating a sandwich in public.
Some people always, you go around some of these countries and people say to me, how the fuck did you get out of there?
Yeah.
And I go, oh no.
I know a couple of people that in Thailand were trying to purchase naughty substances and got caught by the police.
Yeah.
And they reckon they were trying to buy weed. That's what they said to me. And they got the wallets taken by the cop, and then suddenly when the cop's going through, there's a bag of white powder in one of the wallets. And it's one of them like, you're going to prison now, lads. And it was really put the squeeze on them, and ended up taking them to a cash machine and emptying the bank accounts.
Yeah.
And that's what it was about. But they were trying to buy weed, which is illegal over there. I think that's quite serious in Thailand.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think,
Okay.
yeah.
All drugs are when it comes to certain countries.
Yeah.
I was on the phone with Gaynor one night. I was in Thailand, and I'm phoning home sort of thing. I'm just chatting away as I'm walking out. I said, I've just got to go to the ATM. And it was like night time sort of thing. And I met the ATM. This fucking guy, like one of the the ladyboy sort of like gang guys. Come up, started pestering me at the fucking ATM, and I
thought it was a gun in your back, but
I'm like, do one. I'm like, try to get him. I'm like, just hang on a minute. It's going to put my phone away. And turn around. I'm like, turns out it's from Manchester. I'm like, of course you are.
Daz.
Yeah. I'm like, of course you are. Yeah.
Office bloke, Daz.
Yeah. All the places and all the people. Yeah. And he's like, should we go for a beer? I'm like, absolutely not.
That can only happen to you.
He was like, what's going on there? I went, no, you don't even want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, long story short, you woke up sore the next day.
Yeah, no, he did.
Full prison, Rwanda. Overcrowding is a common denominator with most prisons on this list, but there is no prison that has it as bad as Gitarama Central Prison in Rwanda.
Guard is intolerable. Today, it's holding 8,000.
In a facility originally designed to hold just over 1,300 inmates, 8,000 prisoners have been forced to share the space. In most cases, finding a spot to lie down on the ground is a luxury, and many inmates are forced to stand up all day or negotiate with those who have claimed portions of the ground. And it's not like the ground in dispute is some piece of fine real estate. It is damp and more often than not, filled with raw feces. Unsurprisingly, this has led to more, what's the word again? Let's say complex issues. Many prisoners have outright died from disease and suffocation, and if you were to mistakenly injure your foot, gangrene would set in and you would either have to cut it yourself, risk death, or watch it fall from your body. But it gets worse than that. There have been several cases of inmates feasting on each other out of hunger, and the cannibalism could even be worse than I just stated because there is little to no documentation on the activities that happen behind these prison bars. And prison guards have been brainwashed to believe that the prisoners in their charge are subhuman. Last year, 2,000 people died in Rwandan prisons. An overwhelming majority of those deaths happened within the walls of Gitarama Central Prison. Number 5, Kamiti Maximum Security Prison.
Rwanda's got like this new reputation as well of being like a like the new go-to tourist destination in Africa.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, big on advertising on
massive
football
on
shirts
advertising.
and stuff,
Yeah, massive sort of like promoting the country and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's they've got the deal now with the UK as well for the holding centres for migrants that are coming in illegally.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
But it's like it's being portrayed as like like I don't know if you've ever been like Beirut or anywhere like that where it's like it used to be Paris of the East. And all that. It was a lovely place, sort of thing. But and everyone's got this sort of like bad thing about Beirut being, bad because
I think in the 70s it was pretty bad. 70s, 80s.
Yeah, but it's like a really sort of like smartened up place. It was pretty trendy when I went.
Yeah,
it was
same
nice.
with Syria, isn't it? Like my
Syria
dad
was
spent
similar,
a lot of time there and said it was beautiful, really stunning country.
Yeah, and some great stuff. And I think with Rwanda, it's been pushed. I don't know how old this video is, but that video of the prison looked quite old, didn't it?
Yeah, possibly.
It did, yeah.
So
A few of the clips have looked.
But I'm sure
older.
it's still pretty.
I mean, obviously, there's a bad civil war going on, wasn't it? Maybe that's a remnants of that as well. So maybe some of those were sort of like caught up in that, something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Political,
grim.
sort of, they were on the wrong side.
Correct.
Yeah, you just wonder, don't you? Maybe.
Yeah.
Prison, Kenya. What makes this prison immediately stand out from the rest is that it is home to the worst of the worst. Built in 1954 by its British colonizers, the prison was modeled after an old-style colonial system to house offenders during a state of emergency declared in October 1952. Today, it still has its original gallows, and it has gotten even more hellish than it was more than half a century ago. On one hand, it is overcrowded. A prison that should house 1,200 inmates has almost 3,000 inmates crammed within it. On the other hand, this overpopulation has bred serious viral diseases like HIV and AIDS, syphilis, tuberculosis, and a whole plethora of diseases that ordinarily should be under control. Even worse is the unending unrest and corruption that plagues the prison system. Since the prison is the government's favorite dumping ground for political dissidents, much of the population is uneducated. This, in turn, has led to a telephone fraud ring within the prison system where scores of prisoners defraud innocent Kenyan citizens of their money outside the prison walls. Kamiti Maximum Security Prison is a cesspool of chaos, and only the smartest, the bravest, and the most ruthless can survive behind its walls. Number 4, Gldani Prison, Georgia. They say the prison is better. They say the violence has stopped, but that doesn't take away the terrifying legacy of Gldani Prison. In 2012, a video was leaked by a 35-year-old former prison guard turned whistleblower who filmed the horrors that inmates pass through at the hands of other guards. The video is too graphic to show here, but I can tell you what they did and had been doing for decades to prisoners. Every night, night, random inmates were routinely sodomized with broom handles, and one of such was featured in the videos. They were often beaten, drowned, their bones purposefully broken, burnt, all at the hands of the sadistic guards. It was institutionalized torture in the 21st century. A former inmate would recall, "They tore off my fingernails, damaged my skull, broke my leg bones, ribs, nose, and teeth. I am 43 years old, but I look like an old man. I often fall down while I am walking." Today, they say the prisons are fine, and that the torture has been brought to a halt, but I doubt you would want to check that for yourself. Number 3, Mendoza prison.
It's madness, isn't it, that you differentiate yourself from these criminals while you're engaging in criminal activity as the guards.
It's bizarre, isn't it, really?
You the only difference between you and them in that situation is that they're in a cell and you're not.
You're in charge, you've got weapons.
If you're doing that to people and you're a criminal, if you did that on the outside, you're going to end up in prison.
It's bizarre, it really is.
Bad though, isn't it?
It's just...
We're not saying these guys, whatever reason they're in there for, it's bad.
Yeah. Power though, isn't it? Corrupts.
Argentina. The top 90 most dangerous convicts in all of Argentina are held in Pavilion 5 of Mendoza prison. That section is so dangerous that no guard has the balls to enter that section, and they often leave the inmates' meals at predetermined spots around the door. That might sound deviously cool to some, but don't be fooled. Unsurprisingly, the prison has a serious overcrowding problem. 1,600 inmates share a facility that was designed for only 600. There are no beds, and prisoners are forced to sleep on the floor, where they are often subjected to random, intense, and frequent torture. But it doesn't end there. Toilets are non-existent, as prisoners are forced to defecate in plastic bags and urinate in bottles. There is a literal sewer of garbage, human waste, and slime running through the corridors. And conditions have become so unbearable that there are reports that prisoners literally sewed their mouths shut in protest, demanding better living conditions. And yet, it still gets worse. Their food is sludge, and those who aren't strong, fast, or smart enough often go hungry and die, under what the authorities have made a habit of calling mysterious circumstances. Number 2, Diyarbakır prison, Turkey. Diyarbakır prison was at the center of one of the most abusive regimes in Turkey in the 1980s and 90s. Thousands of Kurdish men and women suffered horrific forms of torture, and at that time, it was regarded as the worst prison in the world. These days, second worst, but nothing has improved. In fact, you could argue that conditions have gotten worse, because in the same prison where the sludges of society are being housed, children are also locked up within, and the torture that these inmates are subjected to ranges from physical torture to psychological assault. On the more physical, violent side of things, inmates are beaten, violated, maimed, forced to eat excrement, and electrocuted by their genitalia. On the more psychological, dehumanizing side of things, the same inmates are forced to salute the prison director's dog, participate in random mock executions that might or might not ever happen, and forced to bathe in the sewers. To show you just how desperate the situation is, prisoners routinely go on dry fast, protesting prison conditions, and more often than not, these prisoners simply die from starvation. More recently, 4 prisoners set their bodies on fire, and later on, an inmate set his cell on fire before hanging himself in resistance. Number 1, Camp 22, North.
Oh no! Of course, it was going to be North Korea.
No. That's bad. That I don't know. Just when you look at things that go on around the world, it was never going to be like a Western country that's going to have all these.
No, because to generally abide by human rights, don't
correct.
we?
Yeah.
But it's madness. Why was the kids in that prison though? Would you think it was offender kids, or do you think it was the kids of offenders?
Turkish prison.
Yeah,
probably because they
kids of offenders.
Kurdish.
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, so just for being Kurdish.
Yeah,
wow,
possibly.
It's madness.
North Korea. Camp 22 is not just one prison facility. It is a series of identity prison camps containing up to 200,000 prisoners and stretched across the length of North Korea. The few extremely lucky survivors have likened conditions in the camp to the atrocities committed against the Jews during the Holocaust. Starvation is not a novelty. It is every prisoner's reality. Inmates are fed a sludge of cornmeal and cabbage every day for the duration of their existence, and to avoid dying of malnutrition, prisoners have to supplement their diet with rats and insects. Rats became such an essential part of their diet that rodents literally went extinct. If you know anything about the way rats reproduce, you'll know that that is impressive, to say the least. On average, 20 to 25% of the prison population die every year. When inmates aren't dying of malnutrition, the prison guards make their lives into a satirical piece of horror. Everyone is fair game to the prison guards. Little girls born in the camp are often fed to dogs to train them to be more vicious. Inmates are brutalized as stress relief for the guards, and if if they attempt to escape, everyone in their family, even those unaware of their escape attempt, will be tortured. Pregnancy is also strictly forbidden. Those caught pregnant are often tied to a tree, the fetus cut from their stomach, and then they are shot. Dying in Camp 22 is the best thing that can happen to you. Living, however, means never-ending suffering. Is there a...
Dark.
I'm never going to any of those countries. I don't care what you say, just in case.
You're not planning on going to North Korea?
You'd probably not been in there with a bloody parking ticket or something, wouldn't you?
Thailand's lovely.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think
best places you'll go.
I know a lot of people that have been to Thailand, spent a lot of time there, and they say it's absolutely amazing.
Stunning.
Just
Great
keep your
place.
nose clean. You know,
Keep
just
your nose
don't
clean,
drink.
stick to the touristy bits, I suppose, and
Just don't believe everything you read as well. I know it's some of it's a bit dramatised there. I've been
Yeah,
to Thailand
sure.
a bunch of times. Never even seen a policeman.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
I've been. It's a weird one that I still can't figure out. But I've had Portuguese cops try and get me before when I've been on holiday, and it's been someone's come up to me and said, "Do you want to buy drugs?" And I'm like, "No, I'm all right." And then they'll pull out like a big bag, that's just around the waistband, and they kind of show it me, and they're like, Coke or whatever, and it's a big bag of Coke, and I'm like, "No, I'm good."
yeah.
Walk about 2 more steps, and there's 2 cops stood right there. And it's like entrapment, they're waiting for you to do it.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is they've decriminalised drugs in Portugal. And when I was there last, it was decriminalised.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, are they trying to entrap tourists even though it's been decriminalised? Is it illegal to buy it but not to possess it? Or I'm not 100% what the scam was there.
Sure about that.
But it's happened to me about 3 or 4 times in Portugal.
I think maybe it's for just people that live there, it's decriminalised then for...
I don't know, but it's just like, it's so blatantly obvious. Maybe that person is a drug dealer and they just don't know that the cops are stood there.
Right.
Yeah.
But on them strips and stuff like when you
Yeah.
go Portugal, Spain, all that. Every other guy selling you something kind of shite you don't want. It's illegal.
It's always me. I get offered like the gold chains and things like that, the drugs. It's always me out of everyone.
I've been offered it when I've had my kids with me. They've come over and Mrs. like, for real?
Yeah.
No.
You don't believe
Coke?
it. They just don't care, do they?
No, good.
Absolutely don't care, do they?
No.
No, madness.
That's some scary places.
They are
there,
grim. They are really, really grim, aren't they, those
You won't
places?
want to end up in some of them.
Not at all.
I just don't think it'd last long. The vast majority of people aren't going to last
I
long.
don't think you'd want to, would you? The way some of those conditions are is absolutely...
Me and you would be like food for a year. For them.
You know what I mean?
Malnutrition. Cannibals.
Yeah. Proper boilings in a pot. Be like like finishing a sauna. I mean, you like bobbing around, like in a hot tub.
Man.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.